The camera was hidden in a silk flower arrangement on the dresser, and John McAfee, the antivirus software billionaire living like a king in his Belize mansion, had no idea it was recording when he leaned over to his 23-year-old girlfriend and whispered, "I can make anyone disappear if I need to." 10 seconds later, she asked, "Even the neighbor?" And John smiled, that shark smile that had charmed investors and terrified employees for decades, and said one word, "Especially." 3 days later, his neighbor, Gregory Faull, was found dead on his own porch in Belize, shot in the back of the head, execution style. And that 10-second video, leaked by the girlfriend John thought he owned, went viral across every news outlet in America. The man who'd built a billion-dollar empire protecting computers from viruses had just confessed on camera to being the kind of virus no software could stop. This is the story of a genius who became a monster, a billionaire who thought his money made him God in a country where laws were just suggestions, and how one hidden camera in a bedroom turned a tech legend into the most wanted man in Central America. Before we dive into this shocking story, smash that like button right now and click subscribe. You won't want to miss what happens next. And comment where you're watching from, New York City, Los Angeles, or maybe Chicago. All right, let's continue.
John McAfee wasn't supposed to end up in a Belize jungle with a private army and a drug lab. He was supposed to be a quiet millionaire playing golf in Silicon Valley. But John McAfee was never supposed to be anything ordinary. Born in 1945 on a U.S. Army base in England, raised in Salem, Virginia, small-town America where everyone knew everyone and nothing exciting ever happened. His father was an alcoholic who shot himself when John was 15, suicide by gun, in their home while John was there. That kind of trauma doesn't just wound you, it rewires you. John went to Roanoke College, got a mathematics degree, and started working for NASA as a programmer in the 1970s. Brilliant, obsessive, the kind of mind that saw patterns in chaos. But he was also using drugs, heavy drugs, LSD, cocaine, anything that made the world more interesting than the gray cubicles of government work. He got fired from NASA, then from other jobs. Cocaine addiction burned through his 20s and 30s like wildfire. By his own admission, he was unemployable, broke, sleeping in his car in California, a genius reduced to nothing. Then he got clean, cold turkey, willpower made of iron. 1987, John was working at Lockheed in Silicon Valley when he read about the first computer virus, a piece of malicious code that could replicate itself, infect systems, destroy data. Most people saw a problem. John saw an opportunity so obvious it glowed. He started writing antivirus software in his spare time, called it McAfee Associates, sold it for free at first, shareware, back when the internet was young and trust was currency. The software worked, better than anything else available. Companies started buying licenses, then universities, then governments. The money came fast. By 1992, McAfee Associates was worth $80 million and growing. John took it public in 1992, and overnight his shares were worth $100 million. He was rich beyond imagination, a billionaire by some estimates when the stock peaked. He bought mansions, a fleet of planes, an estate in Colorado with its own runway. He married, divorced, married again. He hired security teams and assistants and surrounded himself with people who said yes, because that's what you do when someone signs your checks. But here's the thing about John McAfee. The money didn't fix the wiring in his brain. The trauma of watching his father die, the years of addiction, the paranoia that comes from seeing threats everywhere, none of that went away just because he had $1 billion. It just got more expensive. By 2008, the financial crisis hit. John's investments imploded. Real estate collapsed. His net worth went from $100 million nearly zero in 18 months. He sold the mansions, fired the staff, lost the planes. And instead of rebuilding quietly, instead of going back to tech, John McAfee did what broken men with too much ego do. He ran. He moved to Belize in 2009, a tiny country on the Caribbean coast of Central America, wedged between Mexico and Guatemala. Population 400,000, economy, tourism, and organized crime. Government functionally corrupt. John bought a compound on Ambergris Cay, an island off the coast, beachfront property, armed guards, dogs, walls topped with barbed wire. He told people he was researching antibiotics from jungle plants, said he was going to cure superbugs, save the world, make his fortune back. He was lying. John wasn't researching antibiotics, he was manufacturing something else entirely. Neighbors whispered about the lab on his property, about the armed men who guarded it, about the strange chemicals shipped in from Guatemala. He hired local women, young, poor, desperate for work, paid them cash. Some became girlfriends, some became employees. The lines blurred until there were no lines. He had 7 girlfriends living in the compound at one point, all of them in their early 20s, all of them dependent on him for money, safety, survival. One of them, a woman named Samantha, later told reporters John made her film everything. The parties, the drug use, the guns. He said it was for security, for insurance, for protection. But really, it was control. He wanted evidence of loyalty, wanted leverage, wanted to own people the way software owned computers. The Belize police started watching him. They didn't like the armed guards, didn't like the lab, didn't like this arrogant American treating their country like his personal kingdom. In April 2012, the Gang Suppression Unit, Belize's version of a SWAT team, raided John's compound. They came in helicopters, rifles drawn, looking for drugs and guns. They found both. Unlicensed firearms, lab equipment, but no hard evidence of manufacturing. John played the victim beautifully, told the media he was being persecuted by a corrupt government, said they wanted bribes he refused to pay. The charges were dropped. John stayed. But now he was paranoid, truly paranoid. He installed more cameras, hired more guards, stopped sleeping in the same room 2 nights in a row. The man who'd built software to protect against invisible threats was now living like every threat was real. His neighbor, Gregory Faull, hated him. Faull was an American expat, a contractor who'd retired to Belize for the quiet life. He lived next door to John's compound and complained constantly about the noise, about the dogs. John had 11 aggressive dogs that barked all night, about the armed guards, about the parties. They fought, publicly, loudly. John told people Faull was trying to get him deported. Faull told people John was dangerous. On November 10, 2012, someone poisoned 4 of John's dogs, just killed them, left their bodies in his yard. John went ballistic, accused Faull, threatened him, told anyone who'd listen that Faull was trying to destroy him, trying to take everything, trying to push him out. The next night, November 11th, Gregory Faull was shot in the back of the head on his own property. Single shot, execution style. His body was found the next morning by his housekeeper. The Belize police immediately wanted to question John McAfee, but John was gone. He ran, took his girlfriend Samantha and disappeared into the Belize jungle, hiding in shacks and safe houses, moving every night, disguising himself with dyed hair and fake glasses. He was a tech genius on the run in Central America, blogging his escape in real time. It was like a movie, except real and insane.
We're racing toward the moment everything explodes. If you're hooked, hit subscribe and turn on notifications right now. But Samantha was getting scared. John was unraveling, talking to himself, seeing conspiracies everywhere, refusing to sleep, waving guns around. She had her phone. She had the videos he'd made her film. And she had that 10-second clip from 3 weeks before Faull died. The one where John whispered, "I can make anyone disappear if I need to." She sent it to a reporter at Vice News. The video leaked on November 20th, 2012. Every major outlet picked it up within hours. CNN, Fox, BBC, The New York Times. The narrative flipped instantly. John McAfee wasn't a persecuted genius anymore. He was a murder suspect. The video didn't prove he killed Gregory Faull. No court would convict on that alone. But it proved something worse. It proved John McAfee thought he was above consequences, that he believed his money and his charm made him untouchable. Belize issued a warrant. Interpol got involved. The U.S. State Department said they couldn't protect him. John McAfee, the man who'd once been on magazine covers as a visionary, was now an international fugitive accused of murder. He kept running, crossed into Guatemala with a fake passport, got arrested, tried to claim asylum. The Guatemalan government said no, started deportation proceedings to send him back to Belize, where he'd face murder charges. John faked a heart attack, collapsed in his cell, got rushed to a hospital, bought himself time. While doctors ran tests, his lawyer fought the deportation, and John, ever the showman, gave interviews from his hospital bed. Claimed innocence, claimed persecution, claimed the video was taken out of context. "I was joking," he said. "It was pillow talk. I never hurt anyone." But the video kept playing, over and over, on every news channel. That smile, those words, "I can make anyone disappear." December 12, 2012, Guatemala deported John McAfee, but not to Belize. They sent him to Miami. The United States wouldn't extradite him to Belize without hard evidence, and Belize didn't have enough. No murder weapon, no witnesses, just suspicion and that video. John walked free in America, landed in Miami International Airport, surrounded by cameras and reporters shouting questions. He smiled, waved, played the victim one more time. "I'm just glad to be home," he said. He was free, legally untouchable. The murder charge in Belize went nowhere. Gregory Faull's case went cold. John McAfee had done it again, slipped through the cracks where money and chaos meet. But freedom wasn't victory, it was exile. He couldn't go back to Belize, couldn't rebuild his life there. The compound was seized, the girlfriend was gone. The empire he'd tried to build in the jungle, the kingdom where he made the rules, was ash. He moved around the United States like a ghost, Tennessee, Oregon, back to California, tried to start companies, tried to rebuild his reputation, gave speeches about cryptocurrency and freedom from government. But everywhere he went, that 10-second clip followed him. Job offers evaporated, investors backed out, partners ghosted. The 10-second clip had become his legacy, not the antivirus software that protected millions of computers, not the billion-dollar company, just those words, "I can make anyone disappear." He tried to laugh it off, tried to spin it as media persecution, but the truth was simpler and crueler. John McAfee had exposed himself, the mask had slipped, and the world had seen the monster underneath. In 2015, he announced he was running for president of the United States, Libertarian Party. His platform? Personal freedom, cryptocurrency, ending the drug war. The campaign was chaos. Press conferences where he ranted about government surveillance, interviews where he seemed high or paranoid or both. He got 0.0% of the vote. He tried again in 2020, same party, same chaos, got arrested in Spain on tax evasion charges before the election even happened. The U.S. government claimed he owed millions in unpaid taxes from his cryptocurrency dealings. Spain agreed to extradite him. June 23, 2021, John McAfee was found dead in Barcelona's prison cell, hanging, according to the official report. Some people believed it, others didn't. Conspiracy theories erupted immediately, claims he was murdered, silenced, eliminated by governments or cartels or enemies he'd made across decades of chaos. John had tweeted months earlier, "If I suicide myself, I didn't, I was whacked." He even got a tattoo that said "whacked" on his arm. His last performance, his last troll, making sure that even in death, people would question the narrative. But here's the thing, it doesn't matter if it was suicide or murder. Either way, John McAfee destroyed himself. The 10-second video didn't kill him. It just showed the world what he'd always been, a brilliant, broken man who believed rules were for other people, who thought money could buy immortality, who confused freedom with lawlessness and genius with God. After John died, his estate was worth almost nothing. The $1 billion? Gone. Spent. Burned. Seized. What remained were debts, lawsuits, and questions nobody could answer. Gregory Faull's murder was never solved. The case is still open in Belize, but no one's investigating. No one cares anymore. Samantha, the girlfriend who leaked the video, disappeared from public life. No interviews, no social media, just gone. Like she'd learned the lesson John never did. Sometimes the only way to survive proximity to a supernova is to run before it collapses. The McAfee antivirus software still exists. Intel bought the company in 2010 for $7.68 billion. John wasn't involved by then. He'd sold his shares years earlier, walked away with millions, but not the billions the company eventually made. The software protects computers around the world. The man who created it couldn't protect himself from his own demons. Here's what John McAfee's story teaches us if we're brave enough to look. Money doesn't heal trauma. It just makes the wounds more expensive. John spent $1 billion running from the image of his father's suicide, built empires, hired armies, moved to jungles, but the ghost followed him everywhere. Because healing requires facing pain, not funding distractions. What are you spending money on to avoid feeling something? The mask always slips. For decades, John controlled his image. Genius, rebel, visionary. He managed the narrative, until he didn't. Until a girlfriend with a phone camera caught him saying the quiet part loud. We all wear masks. We all perform versions of ourselves we think the world wants to see. But the truth leaks. Always. Eventually. What would your mask say if it slipped? Freedom without responsibility is just chaos wearing a crown. John called himself a libertarian, said he believed in maximum freedom, but what he really believed in was freedom for him, to break laws, hurt people, escape consequences. Real freedom requires responsibility, requires caring about the damage you cause. Otherwise, you're not free. You're just a detonation waiting to happen. Is your freedom making the world better or just louder? You can't outrun yourself, no matter how fast you move. John lived in 5 countries, changed identities, dyed his hair, faked heart attacks, ran from police, from governments, from enemies real and imagined. But everywhere he went, he brought himself, the paranoia, the addiction patterns, the belief that he was special enough to escape physics. Geography can't cure psychology. Where are you running, and what are you bringing with you? The same skills that build empires can destroy them. John's genius made him rich. His ability to see patterns, take risks, ignore conventional wisdom, those built McAfee associates. But those exact same traits, unmoderated, turned him into a fugitive. The line between visionary and madman is thinner than we want to believe. It's just a question of whether you have guardrails. John removed all his. What strengths are you overusing until they become weaknesses? But here's the twist nobody saw coming, the one that reframes everything. In 2022, a year after John died, a documentarian named Alex Cody Foster released footage he'd shot in 2012, following John during his time as a fugitive in Belize. Unused footage, the kind of raw material that doesn't make it into the final cut because it's too honest, too quiet, too human. In one scene, John is sitting alone in a safe house, no cameras he knows about, no performance, just him, exhausted, staring at nothing. And he says to nobody, to the void, "I don't know how to stop. I've been running my whole life, from my father, from myself. I don't even know what I'm running toward anymore, just away, always away." Then he cries, actually cries. This man who'd built walls of money and guns and girlfriends, he breaks, just for a minute, just long enough to be human.
The footage was buried for years because it didn't fit the narrative. John McAfee the villain, John McAfee the monster, John McAfee the cautionary tale. But maybe the real story is simpler, sadder. Maybe John McAfee was just a hurt kid who never learned how to heal, who found success and mistook it for salvation, who built a billion-dollar company but couldn't build a self worth living in, who ran from laws and governments and enemies because he was really running from the 15-year-old boy who watched his father die and didn't know how to make sense of a world that cruel. The 10-second video ruined him, yes, but John McAfee was ruined long before the camera ever started recording. The video just showed us what was already there. And maybe that's the final lesson. We are all one unguarded moment away from showing the world who we really are. The difference between John and the rest of us isn't that we're better, it's that our moments haven't been filmed yet. So be kind to yourself, to others, to the broken genius billionaires running from ghosts in Belize jungles, and to the quiet person sitting next to you who's running from ghosts you can't see. Because we're all running from something. The question is whether we'll stop long enough to turn around and face it before the camera catches us whispering the truth we've been hiding our whole lives. John McAfee never stopped running. And that 10-second video, it was just the moment the world finally caught up. If this story hit hard, drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every one. Subscribe for more unstoppable rises and falls. See you in the next one.